Good morning, school, and happy Easter to you all. Easter this year falls during our half-term holidays, so wanted to do this reflection section before we left school. Happy Easter. Now, you might be thinking, has Mrs. House lost the plot here? Because she's written Easter, but her slide is full of Netflix and Christmas trees. What on earth is going on? Well, before we talk about Easter, I want to talk about this word, waiting. So long ago, or when I was your age, we had to get used to waiting for things. If there was a great drama on television and the episode ended on a cliffhanger, we had to wait a whole week for the next episode. Whereas now, I just go on Netflix and I binge watch a box set. But then you had to wait. You had to wait for Christmas. If I wanted some new clothes or a piece of jewellery or a new bike, the refrain from my parents would be, you'll get that at Christmas. Whereas nowadays, if I want a piece of jewellery or anything, I just go order it online and I have it within a day. We're not used to waiting. And yet we have to wait for Easter. And I think waiting brings with it several advantages. When you wait, your anticipation level builds up. You know what's coming. You know that next television episode is going to be in a week. What's going to happen? What's the cliffhanger going to be? You know your presents under the tree at Christmas very well might be the thing that you've asked for, that you've been waiting for. It gives us time to prepare. Christmas, we've got to be buying presents, we've got to be buying food, we've got to be deciding are we going to visit family. Waiting gives us time to prepare. All of which I think means that waiting makes something much more meaningful. I really enjoy that episode of the drama. I really enjoy that festival of Christmas. And you see, just as Advent is the waiting time before Christmas, the month before Christmas, when in churches all over the Advent candle is lit, one every week, then so Lent is the waiting time before Easter. Now, most of us have heard of Lent, which is the period of time before Easter. Most of us have heard of Easter week or Easter weekend. But what happens and what does it mean? So here's my first question. How long does the Easter season last? Is it A, is it B, or is it C? Well, the answer is A. Easter actually lasts for 50 days. And during those 50 days, 2,000 years ago, hundreds, thousands of Jews would have been making their way towards Jerusalem. Easter as a celebration hadn't been invented yet, but Passover had, and it was one of the major Jewish festivals, and every Jew who could wanted to go to Jerusalem to celebrate it. And Jesus was just the same. He was a young Jewish man, probably about 30 years old, and he was making his way to Jerusalem. Now, Easter week, you might have heard of the names of some of Easter week, like Palm Sunday, Ash Wednesday, Shrove Tuesday. Easter week started when, in the story of Easter, Jesus entered Jerusalem, and every week something happened which Christians celebrate. Easter weekend is the Friday to the Sunday when Christians believe he died on the cross and then he rose again. So we've got this longer period of 50 days, then the week, and then the excitement's all building up towards Easter weekend. Next question. How much money was Judas paid for betraying Jesus to the Romans? Now, you might not know this story, but the answer is 30 pieces of silver. So who was Judas and where does he come into this story of Easter? Well, the Bible tells us, which is the Christian holy book, but also Roman documents tell us about this period of time. The Romans were in occupation. That meant they had fought over Jerusalem and they were now the ruling force in Jerusalem. Huge army conquering all sorts of Europe, and here they were in Jerusalem. And they could be quite strict rulers, but they did allow the Jews to come and celebrate their main festivals, this one being Passover. And Roman documents tell us about this man called Jesus who came into Jerusalem with his followers, his disciples, but also his wider band of followers. Now, the Romans were a little bit scared, worried about this person called Jesus. You see, they were in control and there was always little revolutions and revolts going on, and the Romans wanted to keep the peace, and especially during Passover when there was thousands of people there in Jerusalem, and where you have that many people you can easily get unrest. And they wanted rid of Jesus for that time, really. They had heard that he was getting more and more followers, and they saw him as a bit of a threat to their power, so they kind of wanted rid of him. Now, the other group of people who wanted rid of Jesus during the Passover festival were the Jewish leaders themselves. Now, they weren't bad people, but they just didn't really like Jesus. They didn't like what he was talking about, what he was preaching. Now, when I tell you the kind of things Jesus was preaching about, we are thinking, but of course. But 2,000 years ago, his eyes were really quite radical, and they got him into a lot of trouble. So Jesus was saying things like women are equal to men. Now, that was not a Jewish teaching, and especially when Jesus started to teach women and had them as his followers, that was a no-go for the Jewish leaders and authorities. Jesus was also teaching people about equality between people, whether you were a Jew or a Gentile or a Roman, or you came from somewhere else round about that sort of area, that everybody was equal in worth. Again, not a typical Jewish teaching. And the Jewish leaders wanted rid of Jesus because he was really a threat to their authority. And they didn't want to risk having him about in Passover, where he might gain more followers and take them away from Judaism. So they were looking for Jesus. They just wanted him out of the way, but they could not find him. Okay? Thousands of people, chaos, couldn't find him. Judas was one of the disciples, and he actually held the money. He was the treasurer, if you like, and he betrayed Jesus. He told the Jewish authorities and he told the Romans where Jesus was. Okay, now what happened next? Let's ask a question. When are you supposed to eat hot cross buns? Okay, the symbol being the cross, of course. Well, you're meant to eat them on Good Friday. So what is good about a cross and the fact that Jesus had been arrested? Well, what happened next was Jesus actually went to 3 trials to try and secure a conviction. People wanted rid of him, whether they put him in prison, whether they ejected him from the city, they wanted rid of him. But they couldn't actually find anything to accuse him of or anything that would stick. So eventually they took him to Pontius Pilate, the overall ruler, and he, fed up with the whole matter, sentenced Jesus to be crucified. Now, crucifixion was a kind of common death in those days. In fact, when Jesus was crucified, there were other people being crucified with him as well. So this is the cross, okay? This is the cross. But why is it called Good Friday? Well, for Christians, they know that Sunday's coming. And of course, on Sunday, Christians believe that Jesus rose from the dead. Now, we know from Roman and Jewish literature that there was indeed a man called Jesus who lived and died on a cross 2,000 years ago, and whose followers claimed that he had risen. In fact, there's loads of historical documents that say there was a person called Jesus who he did do these teachings, he did claim these miracles, he did have a band of followers, he did annoy the leaders and the authorities. So we cannot dispute that there was a historical Jesus. What Christians do is take that one step forward to say, well, actually, we believe Jesus was God. So what do we celebrate? What can we learn? You don't need to be religious at all to appreciate the great themes of the Easter story. First one, sacrifice. Of course, there was sacrifice. It tells us in the Bible that Jesus was sacrificing, was giving up his life for the benefit of other people. Now, we might not be called to give up our lives, although during COVID, our frontline workers, teachers, gave up their lives for the good of others. Our armed forces gave up their lives for the good of others. In Gaza just now, journalists and hospital staff giving up their lives for the good of others. But we can sacrifice in smaller ways. We can give up some time for the good of others. Imagine if you went home and instead of going onto your PS4, you went and asked if you could help make the dinner. You're sacrificing your gaming time. Or imagine if for a couple of weeks you sacrificed your pocket money and gave it to AKS Action. Sacrificing something for the good of others. And oh my goodness, it will do good. Of course, another huge theme is the good theme. I mentioned that lots of Jesus' teaching was about love and equality. Do we tell people we love them? Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, that's such a PSHE thing to say, Mrs. House, but imagine you went home and told your carer, your parent, your grandparent, do you know what? I really appreciate what you do for me. I love you. It's not words that come easily to us, but just imagine their reaction. Okay? And equality, really treating people as if they were equal despite their age, their status in life, where they come from, where they're going, really treating everybody as equal. No stereotypes. Everybody is equal in worth. And I think, lastly, the theme that I want to talk about is this new beginnings. Now, of course, Christians think that Sunday came and there was a new beginning. Their faith started, Christianity started. And by the way, you can be a Jew and a Christian also. But this new beginnings, this sense of new beginnings, and it is why we have so many chickens and rabbits at Easter on our Easter cards, because it's about new life, new beginnings. Now, I don't know about you, but my New Year's resolutions failed within the first few days. I didn't go to the gym regularly. I still eat chocolate. I still get grumpy. And yes, I can still gossip. But every day can be a new beginning. What you've done yesterday was yesterday. Every day can be a new beginning. Great themes. I'm going to finish on this, okay? Not just that Easter Sunday is a happy day for Christians because they believe that Jesus rose from the dead, a new beginning. And if this is your faith festival, then enjoy it, find it really meaningful. If it's not your faith festival, well, maybe you can think about those big themes: sacrifice, forgiveness, love, equality, new beginnings. And what could that mean for you? Now, I want to leave you talking about Easter eggs, everybody's favourite. What is the connection between Easter eggs and Easter? Well, in those days, 2,000 years ago, when people were buried, they weren't buried the way that we bury or cremate people now. They were buried in a cave. And that cave would have been hollowed out a little bit more to make it bigger, and it would have had a huge stone, like a millstone, rolled in front of it. And the shape was of an egg, of an Easter egg. And of course, Christians believe that stone was moved when Jesus rose again. So my family and lots of other families in Scotland, on Easter Sunday, we either hard boil an egg and decorate it, or we get an orange, go to the top of a hill and roll the egg down the hill as a symbol of new life and new beginnings. You know what? Enjoy your Easter eggs, enjoy your half term off, but think on those great themes. Thank you, school, and have a lovely day.